The moment when these new immigrants step onto the tarmac here at Ben Gurion Airport as the time when the words of the Bible written thousands of years ago come to life.
In the last decade alone, over 250,000 Jews have returned to Israel, fulfilling a prophecy that stretches back thousands of years. From the distant lands of India to the highlands of Ethiopia, Jews are coming home in numbers unlike any other time in history. This mass return is not just a political shift. It's a direct fulfillment of ancient biblical promises. Consider the tribe of Manasseh, scattered by the Assyrians over 2,700 years ago, now returning to Israel. Or the Ethiopian Jews, known as the Falash Mura, whose long-awaited return is bringing ancient promises to life. Prophets like Ezekiel foresaw this great gathering of Israel's dispersed tribes. What we are witnessing today is no mere coincidence. This is a divine signal of the times we are living in. The question is, how close are we to the second coming of Jesus Christ? Stay with me until the end to uncover the full prophetic significance of these incredible events. Let's step back in time. Over 4,000 years ago, God called a man named Abraham. Picture this: a man living in a place he knew, surrounded by people he loved, and yet God asked him to leave it all behind. Go to the land I will show you. No details, no map, just a promise. Abraham, trusting in this call, obeys. And through his faith, God sets in motion something extraordinary. God makes a covenant with Abraham, a promise that would ripple through generations. I will make you into a great nation, he tells Abraham. This wasn't just a promise for Abraham, it was for his children, his children's children, and beyond. Isaac, Abraham's son, inherits this promise. Then comes Jacob, Isaac's son, who, after wrestling with God, is renamed Israel. From his 12 sons would come the 12 tribes that would form the nation of Israel. But the journey isn't easy. Israel's path leads them to Egypt, where they become enslaved for centuries. Can you imagine? A people trapped in oppression, their cries for freedom rising to God. And God doesn't forget them. He raises up Moses, a reluctant leader at first, but one who would carry the Israelites to freedom. Through Moses, God performs mighty miracles, plagues, parting seas, leading the people out of Egypt. It's a story that doesn't just speak to the Israelites, but to anyone who's ever felt trapped, hopeless, or lost. At Mount Sinai, God gives the people the law, a sacred guide that would shape their identity. These weren't just laws. They were the foundation of their relationship with God, their way of living out the covenant. It's a relationship built on trust, faith, and love. And even when they stumbled, as they often did, God didn't abandon them. Under Joshua's leadership, the people enter Canaan, the Promised Land. It's a land full of promise, but also challenges. They face battles, enemies, and struggles. But they are a people with a divine purpose: to worship God in this land, to live by His law, and to be a light to the nations around them. Fast forward a few generations, and Israel reaches a high point under King David. David, a shepherd turned warrior, unites the 12 tribes and makes Jerusalem the heart of the nation. Under his reign, Israel becomes a powerful kingdom. But David's legacy is not just in the victories on the battlefield, it's in his vision for a temple to honor God. Though he is not allowed to build it, his plans set the stage for Solomon, his son, to build the first temple in Jerusalem. Solomon, known for his wisdom, wealth, and peace, takes the throne. The kingdom flourishes. Jerusalem becomes a symbol of Israel's strength, and the temple stands as a testament to God's presence among His people. It's a time of prosperity, a golden age for Israel. But as we know, nothing lasts forever. After Solomon's death, the kingdom is divided. 10 tribes form the northern kingdom of Israel, while 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, remain in the south. The division creates a fracture, both politically and spiritually. The northern kingdom quickly falls into idolatry, turning away from the God who had brought them so far. And because of this spiritual disobedience, Israel faces its downfall. In 722 BCE, the Assyrians invade, and the 10 tribes are lost. Their fate is unknown, scattered and absorbed into other nations. The southern kingdom of Judah holds on a little longer, but isn't immune to its own struggles. In 586 BCE, the Babylonians conquer Judah, destroy the temple, and exile the people to Babylon. It's a moment of profound loss. Jerusalem in ruins, the people displaced. The dream of a unified, sovereign Israel seems shattered. Yet even in exile, the prophets remind the people that God has not forgotten His promises. One of the most powerful prophecies comes from Ezekiel, who speaks of dry bones coming back to life, a vision of Israel's resurrection. Though the people are scattered, God's promise remains. He will bring them back. It's a message of hope in the midst of despair. And so, a partial return comes under the Persian king Cyrus, who allows the Israelites to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. But it's not the same as before. Israel is still under foreign rule, and their independence remains a distant dream. It's a partial restoration, a glimmer of the promise, but not its fulfillment. In 70 CE, the Romans destroy the Second Temple, and the Jewish people are scattered once more. The great diaspora begins. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people will wander the earth, but the hope of returning to the land of Israel never dies. The prophets' words, their promises, linger in the hearts of the Jewish people. You will return. For nearly 2 millennia, the Jewish people lived outside their land. They scattered across Europe, North Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Everywhere they went, they carried with them a longing, a memory, a hope of a return to the land of Israel. But the world they inhabited was often hostile. For centuries, Jews faced persecution, discrimination, and violence. They were expelled from kingdoms, forced into ghettos, and subjected to pogroms. Violent attacks meant to break their spirit and erase their identity. But even in the darkest times, this hope, this longing, never died. It was kept alive through family stories, songs, prayers, and rituals passed down from generation to generation. The dreams of returning to Israel were never forgotten. The suffering, however, was unimaginable. In the 20th century, the world witnessed the darkest chapter of Jewish suffering, the Holocaust. 6 million Jews perished in the concentration camps, victims of one of history's most horrific genocides. Entire communities were wiped out, families torn apart, and the brutal scale of the suffering left deep scars. Yet, even in the face of such devastation, the spirit of the Jewish people endured. Amidst the horrors, they continued to hold on to their identity, their faith, and the promise of return. For some, the Holocaust only strengthened the resolve to reclaim their homeland. The suffering, tragic as it was, became a catalyst for a new chapter, a prophetic rebirth. And then, in 1948, against all odds, Israel was reborn. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, a modern state emerged from the ashes of the past, fulfilling what seemed to be an impossible dream. The State of Israel was declared. It was a momentous event, not just for the Jewish people, but for the world. The land that had once been promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob now had a place for the people to call home once again. The words of Ezekiel 36:24 echoed in this moment. I will take you from the nations and bring you to your own land. This wasn't just a political event. It was the fulfillment of prophecy. It was a sign that something greater was at work in the world. The Jewish people were not only returning to a land, but were part of a divine plan, a plan foretold long before. This return to the land was not merely the product of human effort. It was a miraculous event, shaped by both historical forces and spiritual purposes. It was also the rise of Zionism, a movement that sought the restoration of the Jewish homeland in Israel. Zionism was, at its core, a prophetic movement, a movement that saw the return to Israel as not just a political goal, but a fulfillment of ancient promises. From 1948 onward, millions of Jews began to make Aliyah, the return to Israel. Jews from all over the globe, from Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, the Americas, and beyond, began to come home. The story of the Jewish return to Israel became a global phenomenon. It wasn't just a story about politics or migration. It was a story about fulfillment, about God's faithfulness to His people, and about a people's dream realized. This return to the land was visible. It was tangible. But even more than that, it was a sign of God's faithfulness, a sign of prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. As we look to the present, we see that the return of the Jewish people to Israel is not just a thing of the past. It is unfolding before our eyes in ways that fulfill prophecies from thousands of years ago. These stories are not only about politics and migration. They are about destiny, about God's promises being realized, one by one. Let's explore some of the most profound fulfillments of prophecy in our time. The tribe of Manasseh, Ben Manash. More than 2,700 years ago, the 10 northern tribes of Israel were exiled by the Assyrians, scattered across distant lands. One of those tribes, Manasseh, seemed lost to history. For centuries, the descendants of this tribe wandered through Asia, settling in India. Over time, they maintained their distinct Jewish identity, preserving their customs, their faith, their connection to their roots. Fast forward to modern times, and something extraordinary happens. Thousands of these descendants, the Ben Manash, begin to make their way back to Israel. Their return closes a 27-century-old cycle, a prophecy long held in the hearts of the Jewish people. It is a fulfillment so remarkable, so deeply tied to history, that it resonates with the ancient promises made to Israel. Immigration from France. In recent years, the Jewish return to Israel has been more than just a spiritual movement. It's a response to the shifting currents of the world. Take, for instance, the surge in immigration from France. In 2021, there was a 137% increase in Jewish immigration from France to Israel. Over 6,000 new immigration files were opened, a sign that the prophetic momentum of return is only accelerating. This wave, driven by growing concerns about anti-Semitism in Europe, further demonstrates the urgency and necessity of the Jewish return to their homeland. Operation Dove's Wings, Ethiopian Jews. Another powerful story of return is the saga of the Ethiopian Jews, descendants of ancient Israelites. For centuries, these Jews lived in isolation, their faith and traditions preserved through the generations. But they faced enormous challenges. In Ethiopia, many were forcibly converted to Christianity. But despite this, they kept their customs alive: the Sabbath, the kosher laws, circumcision, unyielding to the forces that sought to change them. In 1991, Operation Dove's Wings brought more than 14,000 Ethiopian Jews to Israel in a miraculous airlift. Today, over 75,000 Ethiopian Jews have made Aliyah, with the number rising to more than 150,000, including children. Their return is a testament to resilience, to the power of faith, and to the truth of prophecy. Despite the challenges of integrating into Israeli society, many Ethiopian Jews have thrived, contributing to the fabric of Israel's future. Ethiopian Operation Tzur Israel. Among the most emotional stories of return is the Ethiopian Operation Tzur Israel. Over 300 Ethiopian Jews were airlifted to Israel in a dramatic operation, accompanied by emotional ceremonies. For many of these returnees, it was a moment of profound significance. As they stepped off the planes, many kissed the ground, sounded the shofar, and celebrated this prophetic fulfillment with tears of joy. The bond between these people and their homeland was undeniable as they returned home to Israel, fulfilling a promise generations in the making. Aliyah from Ukraine. More recently, the conflict in Ukraine has led to another surge in Aliyah. Over 130 Ukrainian Jews, fleeing the violence and instability of the war, have immigrated to Israel. This, too, is a fulfillment of prophecy, coordinated by Jewish and Christian organizations working together. The imagery of the Jewish people returning from the corners of the earth is a powerful testament to Isaiah's vision. I will bring them from the east and gather them from the west. Isaiah 43:5. What was once scattered is now coming together. North American Aliyah. And even from North America, Jews are making their way to Israel. In a special flight, 2,000 Jews from the US and Canada arrived in Israel. Doctors, leaders, soldiers, each contributing to the strength and future of the state. They too are part of the prophetic unfolding of Israel's destiny, stepping into a story that stretches back thousands of years. The global story of Jewish return is not confined to a single country or a single group. Jews are returning from Latin America, Europe, Africa, Asia, from every corner of the globe. The diverse communities, cultures, and languages of these returnees are a living testament to the reach and scope of God's promise. These returns are part of a divine blueprint, one written thousands of years ago, unfolding in our time. The return of the Jewish people to their homeland isn't just a historical event. It's the fulfillment of ancient prophecies that were written thousands of years ago. These prophecies, scattered throughout the Bible, have been waiting for the right time to come to life. And now, we see them unfolding before our very eyes. In Ezekiel 37:21 through 22, God says, "I will take the children of Israel from among the nations, and bring them into their own land. They shall no longer be two nations, nor shall they ever be divided into two kingdoms again." This isn't just a promise, it's a declaration of God's intent to bring His people back together, no longer scattered, no longer divided. Israel will be restored as one nation, united once again. And we can see that happening in our time, with Jews from around the world returning to their land. Then, in Isaiah 11:12, we hear that God will gather His people from the four corners of the earth. This is the gathering we're witnessing today. The Jewish people, scattered for centuries across Europe, North Africa, Asia, and the Americas, are returning. God is bringing them home, physically, spiritually, and prophetically. But this isn't just about physical return. The book of Revelation gives us a glimpse of something much bigger. In Revelation 7:4-8, we read about the 144,000 sealed from the 12 tribes of Israel. This number might seem strange at first, but it's vital. The Bible specifically names the tribes, and these are real tribes, not symbolic ones. God is saying that, before the final judgment, all 12 tribes will be restored in their land. and the 144,000 will be a key part of the end times events. They will go out into the world, sharing the gospel during times of tribulation. Their return to the land isn't just a physical homecoming, it's setting the stage for the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan. So, as we see the Jewish people returning, it's not just about a nation reclaiming its land. It's about prophecy coming to life. It's about the world moving toward the fulfillment of God's promises. And the return of these tribes is a sign that something much bigger is on the horizon. As clear as the prophecy of the 144,000 is, it has been widely misunderstood. Some people, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, argue that this number is symbolic, representing a special group of spiritual believers rather than actual Israelites. But if you look at the text, it's hard to ignore that the tribes are named Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher. These are real, literal tribes. The 144,000 are not some metaphor for a spiritual group. They are actual descendants of Israel. Similarly, the Seventh-day Adventists have interpreted the 144,000 as symbolizing those who keep the Sabbath. But once again, the Bible doesn't give us that kind of symbolic interpretation. It's pretty straightforward. The 144,000 are the actual people of Israel. The names of the tribes are clear, and so is the prophecy. These tribes, which were scattered for thousands of years, will be gathered together again. We have to take the Bible for what it says. The return of the Jewish people to Israel and the sealing of the 144,000 from the 12 tribes is not some vague allegorical idea. It's literal. It's happening. And understanding this helps us grasp the enormity of the moment we're living in. The 144,000 are not a symbol for something spiritual, but real people, a part of God's plan for the end times. Their return to the land marks a critical step in the unfolding of prophecy. As we witness the unfolding return of the Jewish people to their homeland, it's essential to pause and reflect theologically on what this truly means. Despite centuries of rejection, despite Israel's refusal to accept the Messiah, God has not rejected Israel. This is a powerful truth. In Romans 9 through 11, the Apostle Paul emphasizes that God's promises to Israel are irrevocable. God's covenant with His people is not based on their acceptance or rejection, but on His faithfulness. The return of the Jews to Israel is proof of that, proof that God's covenant is eternal and unfolding before our eyes. Each Jewish return is another page in the story of God's unbreakable faithfulness. It's not just about geography or politics. It's about divine fidelity. It's about God keeping His word, no matter the circumstances, no matter the obstacles. The fact that, after thousands of years, Jews are returning to Israel is not simply a historical event, it's a theological statement. It is God fulfilling the promises He made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These promises were not conditional, they were eternal. The Jewish people's return is a living testimony to that unbreakable covenant. It's a declaration that God will never forsake His people. As we watch these prophecies unfold, we are reminded that God's faithfulness is not bound by time or circumstance. His promises stand firm. And so, the return of the Jews to Israel is not just a moment to be observed, it's a moment to be understood within the framework of God's unyielding love and His plan for the world. The story is still being written, and God is still guiding it. As we wrap up this journey, it's important to see the bigger picture. This return of the Jewish people is not political, it's prophetic. Each immigrant coming home fulfills a biblical promise, confirming the covenant between God and His people. This is not coincidence, it's prophecy being fulfilled in real time. The restoration is still unfolding, but it's clear. Israel's return is a signpost pointing toward the end times. It's both a warning and a message of hope. God is not finished with His people or with the world. Could the return of the 12 tribes signal Christ's coming? The signs are undeniable. Now is the time to watch, discern, and prepare. This is not just a moment to observe, but to align our lives with God's purpose. Are you ready for what's to come? Let this prophetic movement stir your heart and guide you toward a deeper understanding of the times we live in.